Welcome to the video, guys. You might remember the political party called the Liberal Democrats. You know, the ones who said in the lead up to the election last year that they could win 200 seats, which we all laughed at as pure fantasy, and even Andrew Neil told Jo Swinson during one of these shows that she was spouting fantasy politics, which, like I said, we all laughed at the time, and is something that a lot of political parties and their supporters are actually guilty of even to this day. I see it constantly, and it actually makes me die with laughter. Much like the article we have here from The Independent. Scathing report blasts high-speed car crash of Lib Dem general election campaign. Because yesterday a report was released reviewing the Lib Dems' performance at the election last year, which was obviously a complete disaster after 7 MPs from the Labour Party and the Conservatives defected to them, giving them a total of 21 MPs, which somehow led the new leader of the party, Jo Swinson, to believe that she could win an election somewhere, as Chuka Umunna, the political prostitute who defected from Labour to the Liberal Democrats, went on national television and actually claimed with a straight face. It was a hilarious moment, I think you will all agree. Well, it seems whoever was involved in the review process has come through and said it was a high-speed car crash, but refused completely to blame their position on Brexit for their humiliating defeat, which we all know played a massive role, along with some of the other batshit crazy policies that Jo Swinson put out there. A scathing internal post-mortem of the Liberal Democrats' disastrous general election has blamed over-optimism on the anti-Brexit campaign and some improbably positive polling results for a campaign which turned into a high-speed car crash. Buoyed by apparent public enthusiasm for their Stop Brexit campaign and new leader Jo Swinson, the party took a high-stakes gamble in backing a general election at the time of Boris Johnson's choosing and fighting it on the twin messages that Miss Swinson would become Prime Minister and would revoke Article 50 to keep the UK in the EU without a referendum. Now, that whole statement there is completely hilarious. Public enthusiasm for their Stop Brexit campaign, what they actually mean is Twitter enthusiasm for the Stop Brexit campaign. The public obviously didn't feel the same way, hence they voted for the Tories, and we have the government we have now, not Jo Swinson Prime Minister. Instead, we have Jo Swinson unemployed Scottish bum. It ended with disaster on December 12th with the loss of the leader and all of the high-profile Labour and Tory defectors who had joined the parliamentary party, leaving Lib Dems with a rump of just 11 MPs. And speaking of those defectors, we will get to one of them in a moment, because it seems a report partially blames Chuka Umunna for the Lib Dems' election defeat. Surprisingly positive results from an MRP multi-level regression and post-stratification constituency-level poll paid for by a donor led the Lib Dems to target a wide range of seats where they had little presence on the ground and no history of electoral success, to the detriment of genuine battlegrounds like Miss Swinson's own Dumbartonshire East constituency, which she lost to the SNP by 149 votes when it could have been saved by a determined ground campaign, said the report. MRP polls are a recently developed technique that aims to give a more detailed prediction than a standard opinion poll. Well, I would suggest it ain't no better than an opinion poll if you're basing it around the Lib Dem ones here. This said they had a chance of winning 200 or more seats. They won 11 and, in my opinion, were lucky to do that. The review suggested that the gender of the party's first female leader, in the job for just 5 months, may have played a role in the defeat, citing research which suggests women leaders need more time to establish themselves in order for voters to get someone different from the norm. Okay then, the whole of the UK is now a bunch of sexist pigs that didn't vote for this woman because she's got a set of gammon hangers sitting between her legs. This is just incredible, but to be honest does not surprise me with the Liberal Democrats. It was wishful thinking for the party to believe that their own enthusiasm for Miss Swinson was shared by voters as a whole, and to build the Lib Dem campaign around the idea that she was your candidate for Prime Minister, which was actually laughable, and I'm sure they put on the side of a bus. Even though, if I remember correctly, before the election there was a report out that suggested that every time people meet Jo Swinson, they actually dislike her more and more. So campaigning herself might not have actually helped her. I will try and find the report of it and stick it up on the screen if I can. Previously, net positive ratings for Jo fell during the campaign, found the report. There was clearly a lot of misogyny and sexism at play, of course there was, and Jo's appeal to women also fell significantly during the election. Yeah, that's because some of the woke nonsense policies that she adopted and I covered at the time. The party failed to target the black and ethnic minority voters who could have made the difference in many London seats, and its policy of revoking Brexit alienated large chunks of the population, even among those who voted to remain, because obviously it's anti-democratic and Remainers are not Remoaners like Jo Swinson and her bunch of snivelling shitweasels. We always have to remember there was a difference between the Remainer and the Remoaner. Remoaners are whiny cunts who can't accept democratic decisions. Remainers are people who voted for Remain and accepted the democratic decision this country made, even if they didn't like it. But that statement there shows just how stupid the Lib Dems still are. Targeting London seats is not how you win an election, as we have just found out. But I'm sure it doesn't surprise anyone that the Lib Dems are trying to blame sexism and misogyny against Jo Swinson because they always try to shirk the blame off of them. The reason why you lost so badly is because your party is an undemocratic shit show at the end of the day. You wanted to stop something the majority of the country voted for, and you expected to get majority support. It just doesn't make any sense as to why you thought that was actually possible. Well, I suppose technically it does, because they believed everything they see on Twitter, which is obviously not real life. Now, like I said, the Lib Dems have also started the blame game while shirking the true reason why they lost the election, as the Sunday Times is reporting here. Lib Dems blame cult of Chuka Umunna for poll defeat. So, despite being the shining star of the Lib Dems at one point, Chuka the political hooker Umunna is now the fall guy for their election disaster. An internal report by the Liberal Democrats has concluded that the party's poor general election performance was due to a culture of decision-making in small, closed groups. The report, entitled The Election, a high-speed car crash, was written by 15 councillors, activists and members and chaired by Baroness Thornhill. What a name for that report that is. The Election, a high-speed car crash. They should have made it into a book. I might have bought it, just for the shit and giggle of it. It focuses on a top-down decision-making of Jo Swinson, the Lib Dem leader, who lost her East Dunbartonshire seat to the SNP as we know. Interviews appear to verify claims that she shut out established voices in the party and came under the influence of Chuka Umunna during the election. Because she obviously wasn't ready to be the leader if Chuka Umunna was influencing what she did. Are they essentially saying that Chuka Umunna was the leader of the Liberal Democrats during the election process and before it? One member is quoted as saying that small group drunk the Kool-Aid and believed she could do it. Another said that the Lib Dems offered a wigwam of a message to voters with no central poll. There are questions about the decisions to promote Miss Swinson as a serious candidate for Prime Minister, saying that it appeared unrealistic to the wider public. Which is kind of obvious. The system we have will never let the Lib Dems take control of the country, the same as it would never let any other small party or new party do it for that matter. There are only two parties who can win an election in the UK. That is either the Labour Party or the Conservative Party. Sorry to break that to anyone who thought different. This is a fact of life. You'll have to get over it, much as the Lib Dems have had to here. Because it would seem last year they actually had no clue about the way the political system that they were a part of actually works. Jo Swinson becoming Prime Minister is about as likely as my pug Lola becoming the Prime Minister. It's not going to happen, much the same as the Brexit Party or anyone else for that matter. As UKIP found out, you'll be lucky to get a seat. The report said, given the state of the polls at the time of the election, sending out millions of leaflets with your candidate for Prime Minister on the front demonstrated the unrealistic optimism of our belief. It demonstrated the batshit crazy stupidity of Jo Swinson and everyone at the Liberal Democrats, which we all love because it means you will never stand a chance of getting any serious amount of seats in Parliament, you Remoaning shitweasels. This report here is hilarious. I have read through some of it personally myself, and it is quite funny, while still trying to shirk some responsibility. But it is out there if you do fancy a quick laugh. I would suggest reading it just for the shit and giggle of it if you got a bit of time. It's 61 pages long, so it's no short read, but it is quite funny. It does make me laugh that they had to poll something like 21,000 members to find out something I could have told them in about 10 minutes the day after the election. Now before I go, I've started doing live streams and uploading gaming content on my second channel. If you would like to come and join me for a live stream to chat in real time, have an interest in gaming related content on YouTube, or just want to follow me over there because you are a legend, the link will be down in the video description below and as a pinned comment. I hope to see you all there. Now as always, before I go, I want to thank our PayPal, Patreon, Subscribestar and YouTube members for supporting the channel, along with everyone who watches my videos. Remember to let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Leave a like, subscribe with the notification bell and share this video as it helps the channel a lot. And I will see you all in the next one.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors. Slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires. And that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going and we are glad to be going. We're off.